So without any further delay, let's start the webinar, and let me allow to introduce our Ms. Sakshi Roy, the Assistant Manager of the University of Tokyo India office. I would like to request her to give a brief overview of the University of Tokyo India office.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Ms. Sakshi. Let me share my screen. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
So, namaste, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this webinar, Study and Work in Japan, session 4 of this webinar series 2023. So, my name is Sakshi Roy, and this program is hosted by the University of Tokyo India office and brought to you by MIXT, the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology, Japan. So, first of all, before giving you a brief information about this project and our office, I would like to thank all of you. It's a great pleasure for us that you have participated in our webinars. Thank you for supporting our webinars and attend our webinars. So I would like to thank all our expert panel members from prestigious Japanese universities for contributing into this webinar series. So let me start with a brief introduction about our office. So we are the part of Study in Japan Global Network Project in Southwest Asia by MIXT, and we provide information on Japanese universities, not only the University of Tokyo, but we can provide information to all of the Japanese universities, as our office is funded by Japanese government to promote study in Japan. And we also organizes education fairs and seminars throughout India to spread awareness about higher education opportunities in Japan. All right, so about the webinar today, we are conducting a session 4 of this Study and Work in Japan webinar series. And all these webinars is basically designed to introduce you to some of the best Japanese universities, and we'll be discussing the various program offerings and opportunities to study and work in Japan in our online session. So you'll get to know about courses offered in English, scholarship opportunities, and moreover, you have a chance to ask your queries directly to the university representatives. All right, so talking about the number of higher education institutions in Japan, there has been approximately 700 plus universities as well as specialized vocational institutions in Japan. And I must tell you that studying abroad in Japan means further your study in a well-rounded education system. You'll experience a unique new culture, and you have a chance to gain more international perspective. So no doubt you'll learn from the very best in the world and work in some of the most modern labs with great facilities. And you can also learn Japanese easily if you live in Japan, and also some of the Japanese universities offering preparatory Japanese language courses for international students. All right, so now I would like to introduce this QR code for information about study in Japan. So by scanning this QR code, you'll get the whole information about the study in Japan. Like if you're interested in to know about the degree programs offered in English, or maybe you're interested in short-term programs or transfer programs or scholarship opportunities. So just scan this QR code and go to the website, and you can just check out the courses that are there offered by Japanese universities, and you can also save the link for your future reference. And I'll also share the link of this QR code in the chat box for reference. So for further information, please feel free to contact us at this mail address. We would be very happy to assist you. You can take a picture of this contact address, or I'll also share the details in the chat box. And we are also very active on social media, so you can follow our social media pages to get updates regarding study and work in Japan webinars and related information. All right, so this is the username of our YouTube channel. So lots of students asking about the recordings of our webinar. So to check the recordings of our webinar, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and it would be very grateful if you can support us by liking and sharing our YouTube videos. So thank you very much for listening to me. Please stay tuned till the end of the session, and I am sure this webinar will be profitable and the next few hours will be fruitful to every one of you. Thank you so much for paying attention. Please enjoy today's session.
Thank you, Sakshi-san, for providing your valuable information about the webinars and also for introducing it to the students. I'm sure it's very valuable for the students. So right now we have the University of Tokyo as our first presenter. University of Tokyo is established in 1877, often referred as Todai, is considered as the most selective and prestigious university in Japan. It has a broad history of producing exceptional alumni, including 17 prime ministers, 17 Nobel Prize laureates, 5 astronauts, and field medalists. The university's reputation extends globally as it collaborates with other leading institutions to advance human knowledge. So today we are fortunate to have Professor Richard SHEFFERSON, a distinguished faculty member who will provide us with a comprehensive overview of the PEAK program at the University of Tokyo. You can start your presentation, Professor.
So let's get the slides going here. Yep. Okay, so my name is Rich Shefferson, and I'm going to be introducing the programs in English. Come up to the PEAK program. I'm a professor within this program at the University of Tokyo. Can I have the next slide there? Okay, so let's just start off before we get into PEAK. Why might you want to study at the University of Tokyo? Next slide, please. So the University of Tokyo was founded as you learned just a moment ago in 1877 as the first of the national universities in Japan. And it's been through various name changes, became the Imperial University, the Tokyo Imperial University, and I went back to the University of Tokyo a little later on. But basically it's been the first and the foremost of the national universities within the Japanese university system. Currently has quite a large number of students, as you can see, nearly 30,000. I think that's probably going to be more graduate students than undergraduate, but we have a huge undergraduate base. We take in something like 3,000 undergraduates or so per year, and we have about 11,000 academic and administrative staff. Next slide. Now, students actually come from abroad for exchange at our university as well, and we send some of our students abroad. We have a memorandum of understanding and cooperative relationships with universities all over the world, all the top universities, Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, Berkeley, Stanford, so forth. And so this shows you some of the numbers of students going abroad every year, I believe. As well as the number of students coming in every year. I think this is this year, so the numbers are probably regrowing post-COVID. Next slide, please. The university has been, well, it's in several of the different world universities. Consideration. I think the most important one right now is supposed to be something like a job placement post-graduation. In any case, we're number 23 in the world on that list as of this year. Next slide, please. And relative to the other of the top universities in the world, we're very, very cheap. Part of the reason for this is that if you look at most of the really the universities that people want to go to in the world, places like Harvard, for example, they have a sort of a sliding scale tuition system in which they generally try to find breaks for American citizens to lower the cost there, but then they'll push the full price out to international students and others to make the cost of the education very, very expensive. In the University of Tokyo, we don't do that. We have sort of a mandated tuition that's across the board, where you either pay the tuition or you get a scholarship. And that's very, very cheap relative to all the other universities. And so it's about 5,000 USD per year. Next slide, please. Now, I'm a biologist. I love biology, and I love being in a university that has a lot of great biological research. And it's always a wonderful thing to know that there are so many Nobel Prize winners at the University of Tokyo. And so, including at my campus, the Komaba campus. And so, students coming to join our university can see lectures by some of the world's top minds. And this is just a list of some of the Nobel Prize winners that we've had. Next slide, please. For me personally, one of the reasons that I love the University of Tokyo is its academic reputation. That's really built on its research, of course. And in terms of academic reputation, we're considered the 7th top university in the world, according to the QS World Ranking System as well. And so we're in very good company there with places like Harvard, Cambridge, Oxford, Stanford, and so forth. Next slide. Okay, so that's the University of Tokyo in a nutshell. What about PEAK? So let's go to the next slide, please. So PEAK stands for Programs in English at Komaba. If we could have the next slide. And what PEAK is, the University of Tokyo, most of the curriculum for the undergraduate degree, most of the curriculum is taught in Japanese. And so back in 2012, PEAK was launched as a full 4-year curriculum that's entirely in English. And that curriculum basically is composed of 2 major parts: an international program on environmental sciences and an international program on Japan and East Asia. And this generally covers all of the natural sciences plus humanities and social sciences that you might wish to know. Because this program is taught entirely in English, you do not need any Japanese language knowledge in order to join PEAK. The only caveat there is that we do require our students to take some Japanese while they're in the university. I mean, after all, if you're going to come all the way to Japan to do your university, you should probably learn the language at least a little bit. So that's our philosophy there. Next slide, please. So our structure is a little different from some of the other universities in Japan in terms of how the undergraduate curriculum is organized. So the first 2 years is considered the liberal arts curriculum. It's a general curriculum that differs a little bit based on whether you're a sciences student or a humanities versus social science student. And so within those first 2 years, you take very general classes, the basic courses, as well as some mandatory Japanese language. And then you specialize in years 3 and 4. Within environmental sciences, you see some of the sort of foci that we have in there. But basically, you can learn everything from the hard sciences like physics and chemistry onto the biological sciences, including ecology and evolution and molecular biology, onto economics and policy. On the Japan and East Asia side, we have our humanities and social sciences, and so that's where we have detailed courses in history and economics and international relations and so forth. Next slide, please. So this shows you some of the living costs. Some people who think about coming to Japan or to Tokyo in particular think that there's high living costs. From my perspective, personally, I don't view living costs as particularly high. I've lived in parts of the world with much, much higher living costs than this. Basically, we have a one-time admission fee. Our tuition fees are low, as I mentioned. The accommodation that you see here, USD $750 per month, and then typical living expenses $725 per month. I think this is kind of typical, but you can get quite a bit cheaper. I know, honestly, some of my students pay half of what you see here for their accommodation for their own place. So it is quite a reasonable place to live. And I don't think you have to be worried so much about these sorts of expenses. Next slide. In terms of scholarships, so we give a number of scholarships per year. So within PEAK, we actually, we admit basically 30 students per year. So we're a very highly selective program. And we've generally tried to set it up so that about half of them get scholarships. Those scholarships, so we have a University of Tokyo scholarship. There's about 10 students given that per year. That covers their admission fee, their tuition fees, and then a stipend, as you can see here, which is about 1,100 USD per month. There is a Japanese government MEC scholarship. We're currently negotiating that, but we generally get that. And it's very similar to the UTokyo scholarship, except with a round-trip airline ticket thrown in. And then there are sometimes some country-specific scholarships. We mentioned the Singaporean and Malaysian ones here. Next slide, please. Okay, so how do you apply to PEAK? We have a rather unique process, I think. Next slide. So as you can see here, we have a two-stage process. So the first stage, we take an online application, and that's the document screening stage. So you would submit an online application. And then on the basis of your online application, we would choose a number of those students for then interviews in the second stage. If you're applying for the environmental sciences, then in addition to the interview, there would be an online math exam. The University of Tokyo prides itself on being on one of the world's top math schools, and so we expect a high level of math in our science students. And then, if you succeed in that, then you're offered places based on the results of stages 1 and 2. I don't have the current dates for the application period, but basically the application period will be about a 1-month period running from mid-November to mid-December of this year. And students who would be applying then would be applying for enrollment in September of 2024. Next slide. Now, to be eligible for PEAK, you have to also submit predicted or actual standardized or national test scores. I should say, so we generally prefer the international standardized exams, for example, SAT, ACT, the International Baccalaureate if you're in an IB school, A-levels or international A-levels and so forth. There are some national qualifications that we do accept. I don't remember the list off the top of my head, but you can basically look online at our old application guidelines to take a look at the full list of what we accept. And if you have a question on it, then certainly contact us about it. Next slide. In terms of the document screening, so we have an online application form. We require an essay. We require your official school transcripts. Because you're probably going to be applying at a time when you're still in high school, we expect a certificate of at least expected graduation, when that would be. Official examination results for academic ability, which would be the standardized examinations that I mentioned. Official test scores for English proficiency if you are not a native English speaker. And 2 evaluations, so letters of recommendation from high school teachers. Next slide. Now, in terms of our graduates, our graduates are quite successful people. Can I have the next slide? So what you see here is sort of a breakdown of where our graduates have gone from our very first class on to fairly recently. And you can see that about half of them go on to graduate school after graduating, and the other half more or less go into employment, with a small sliver deciding to take a little time and think their future over, as I think many young people want to do these days. You can see that within the graduate school group, our students go to graduate schools all around the world. And within the employment group, a lot of our students like to stay within Japan, but some of them go back to their home countries or other countries altogether. The ones who stay in Japan have a tendency to work for large corporations here, some big international conglomerates and so forth. Next slide, please. So in terms of the graduate institutions that some of them go on to, this is showing you a broad mix of some of the universities that they'll go to. You see, pretty, some of the world's top universities here, going to Oxford, Cambridge, Berkeley, Duke, University of Michigan, and so forth. Next slide. And in terms of their study subjects, we actually, although we have 2 major specializations, that actually covers quite a lot of interest in our students. So our environmental science students, for graduate school, they go on to this very broad list, including biomedical engineering, computer science, chemical and biochemical engineering, economics, education, environmental sciences, policy or engineering, law, mathematical sciences, public policy. And on the Japan and East Asia side, you can see they go to things like area studies, economics, gender studies, global governance, information, well, IT sorts of IT-related majors, international relations, Japanese history, political science, philosophy, sociology, and so forth. Next slide. The ones who choose to go into employment rather than graduate school, so they go into all sorts of companies, as you can see here. A lot of them choose business consulting and management, for example, environmental consulting firms. Some of my former undergraduate students have gone on and worked for those sorts of firms. Others go on into accounting and banking, media, leisure, sports, and tourism, and so forth. Some of them also go into work for the government in public services and admin. Next slide. And so with that, I'm happy to take questions. You can also scan this QR code to get more information from our website.
Thank you, Professor, for sharing such an enlightening and comprehensive presentation.
Thank you.
Can we proceed with the Q&A session?
Sure. So let's see. It looks like some of the first few questions were actually general.
Yes. I'm sorry to, you're done with the presentation, right? I felt yes. I have interrupted in between. Okay.
No. I'm done with the presentation.
Okay.
But I'm not sure initially. Some of the initial ones, some of the initial ones don't seem specific to the University of Tokyo. If I scroll down a little bit, I see some that are.
Is it okay if I pick a few questions?
Yeah, why don't you do that? That'll
yes, I think that
help me out a bit.
Yes, thank you. If a student doesn't get a scholarship in the PEAK program, can he still apply for the PEAK program on his own? Do you think it is possible? Or all the international students usually end up with a scholarship?
Well, no, half the students who come into PEAK are on scholarship. So the other half are not, or well, of the other half, sometimes they can get scholarships from their own governments or organizations within their own countries. So that's also a possibility. But just we give out about I guess last year it was about 17 or 18 total scholarships, I think, and so the rest of the students coming in would not have those. Right?
Okay, thank you. What is a batch size, Professor? So how many students are present in a PEAK program?
Well, so we accept 30 students per year. And so the whole program, it's a 4-year program. So we have, that gives you a rough size of 120. It's actually a bit more than that. I think it's more like 150 right now, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. And if you move on to the next question, so is it mandatory to know Japanese language?
No, it's not. No, the program runs entirely in English. We don't expect any Japanese knowledge, but we do require that you learn some Japanese as a part of the program. So that's done within the first 2 years. I think the minimum requirement is 3 semesters, if I remember this correctly.
Okay.
But I think
so usually the students can take classes for the Japanese language and they end up with certain level of proficiency by the time they complete 2 years of their undergraduate program.
Well, we provide actually quite a lot of Japanese education if you want it. So if you wanted to become completely fluent, you can do that through us. I think that right now it's maybe 7 levels of Japanese language education, but the minimum we require is 3 classes, and that's just to get that basically is enough to learn how to live in Japan basically and get around and not have too many problems. The people who really want to get fully fluent, a lot of times they're interested in potentially studying in Japan more and actually, using a lot of written materials and so forth. And so we certainly encourage that, but it's not required. And on the environmental science side in particular, our science students have a tendency to really want to, get working in science. They'll typically take fewer of those classes than on the other side.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. And for the students enrolling, is there any CGPA cutoff?
Is there any, the GPA cutoff? I don't remember off the top of my head if we have a GPA cutoff or not. I think that generally speaking, because, we try to be open to students all around the world, and students in various countries will use different systems for this. So I don't remember if we have an actual cutoff on that. I don't think we do. There are some minimum cutoffs for the standardized examinations, though. I don't remember what they are off the top of my head, but if you go to our last year's application guidelines, then we can see some of those.
Okay, thank you. And it's not related to the PEAK program question, but we have a question from asking about postdoc opportunities in the university. So do you have any idea about
it? Well, yeah, certainly we do, you know, we're a big national university, a research university. And so postdoc opportunities, usually postdocs are advertised either within Japan on certain websites that are open to people who are living here, or there'll be some international sources for that. But if you're really, really motivated and want to come to Japan on a postdoc, my recommendation would be to go to the JSPS website and to look at the JSPS postdoc for foreign researchers as a possibility. It's competitive and very, you know, it's a very nice and competitive award. I actually got it myself after graduate school. It pays well and it gives you 2 years of good research funding. All you need to do is find a host and develop a good project.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful to know. Thank you, Professor.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll take one last question. So the students in the PEAK program, so they'll graduate only from the environmental science department. Say, suppose a student is interested in business administration. So is there such department in the PEAK program?
No, PEAK right now. So yeah, right now we don't have anything like that. We do have students both in environmental sciences and in Japan and East Asia who are interested in kind of finance, economics or finance. Those are different fields, obviously, but they're interested in that. And some of them actually do go into business by themselves or go on and do MBAs later on or things like that. But we do not have a major within PEAK like that.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. There are so many questions, especially even I personally want to ask you about how the university helps in the placement and the job opportunities. So if you find these questions in the chat, in the Q&A portal, please. So like I said before, the University of Tokyo is one of the top universities in Japan, and like a cherry on the cake, we have another presentation from the University of Tokyo by Ms. Midori Arakawa. I'm very delighted to introduce her as a project specialist from the student mobility team, who will enlighten us about the Global Education Center, and also for students who are interested in short-term programs at the University of Tokyo. Please stay tuned to the presentation because all the details will be covered in this. I invite Ms. Midori to give the next presentation.
Okay, so can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Right.
we can hear you.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Good afternoon and good evening, everyone from Tokyo, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Midori Arakawa, a project specialist from the International Education Promotion Group here at the University of Tokyo. Today, I'm delighted to introduce GLOBE, Center for Global Education and Short-Term Programs available for non-UTokyo students. So before we move on, I'd like to introduce our new center, GLOBE. In April of this year, 2023, the University of Tokyo established a new Center for Global Education Center. The center functions as a comprehensive international education platform for the entire university, which aims to foster global citizens who contribute to the world. The center, known as GLOBE, serves as an educational hub for all UTokyo students as well as inbound students. It takes on the role of a global concierge, offering various international programs and support. Globe offers a wide range of international educational content, and one notable feature is global liberal arts courses and interactive English medium classes that are available to all students and exchange students. These courses focus on the themes of the SDGs or Sustainable Development Goals, and urge students to think about some of the most urgent issues, such as the war, environmental destruction, poverty, and human rights violations, and so on. So we provide an educational space for students to reflect on these global challenges in interactive settings. So among the various programs that we offer, we will pick two programs today. The first one is GUC, Global Unit Courses. So about UTokyo GUC. GUC is a series of English taught and short-term intensive courses, which was launched in the summer of 2021. That's only 2 years ago. And in the past 2 years, all the courses were offered through online because of the pandemic, unfortunately. But finally, this summer, we are excited to offer these courses in person. So UTokyo GUC is one of the best ways to experience UTokyo classes while belonging to your home university. So who's eligible to take these courses? So to be eligible to participate in the program, applicants must be currently enrolled in a university as a full-time student, both undergraduate or either undergraduate school or graduate school. And also regular students enrolled at the University of Tokyo may also participate in the program, which means you also have a chance to meet our local students through the program. Language requirement. The courses will be taught in English, so good news is Japanese language is not required unless you are taking Japanese courses. Although no certificate of English language proficiency is required, students must possess sufficient language proficiency to complete university level courses. The expected minimum English level is that of TOEFL 90 or IELTS 6.5. Credits. Students will be given global units based on their performance and the number of class hours. Upon successful completion, a global unit certificate will be issued by the UTokyo, and this may be used to calculate credits to transfer to their home institution. Generally, we ask students to check and confirm with their home university regarding credit transfers. And also, as you see in the pictures here, students ambassadors will be able to help you as well. So during the program, students ambassadors formed by the UTokyo students opens a window for GUC students specifically. So you may ask any questions regarding the courses, or what it's like to live in Japan, or sightseeing tips around Tokyo or entire Japan. Or simply just stop by to have a conversation or chat with them and get to know each other. So the GUC allows you to interact with local UTokyo students as well. So the next one, So the schedule program for 2023 has already started actually last week. So you will be you'll be able to apply for the next year in 2024. But just to give you an idea, here are the key timeframes from the program this year. Application period run from February to mid-March, which is about 6 weeks. And then applicants will receive screening result in mid-April. Then the courses will run from mid-June to July, and the program period is divided into 3 terms. So the schedule for the next year will be announced in due course and will be available on our website, but you may expect similar schedule for the next term as well. Next, course hours and fees. In order to make the courses available, accessible for students, we have kept the program fees to a minimum. The cost depends on the format and the number of units, so please calculate before applying. But just to give you a better understanding, 100 yen is equivalent to 0.7 US dollars. So in person, one global unit of 150,000 Japanese yen is equivalent to 1,000 US dollars in the current exchange rate. Next, there are some examples of the courses. So GUC offers a wide range of courses from the humanities to social science to STEM subjects. And one of the special features of this program is that all the courses are taught, as I said, all the courses are taught by full-time faculty members of the university. And this summer, 12 main courses are offered through GUC. And in addition to the 12 main courses, as I mentioned earlier, GUC also offers Japanese language courses online during the term 1 and term 2. So, thanks to the popular culture, Japanese language is becoming more popular among the international students. So please consider taking Japanese classes as well. If you are interested in our culture or language, I recommend that you join our language courses of UTokyo, TUC. But please note that the Japanese language courses must be taken together with at least one of the main courses. So I'm showing some of the course titles here. So hopefully some of the topics would catch your eyes. So AI for understanding human intelligence, early language acquisition, sustainability, social justice and resource management, survival Japanese, capitalism and census, contemporary Japanese politics, dilemmas of development in Asia, group theory and its applications, sustainable urban management, AI and social justice, survival Japanese, term 3, law in translational East Asia, and science of light. So yes, students may take any numbers of courses from any term as long as there are no time conflicts. And please note that those attending the program in person may select online courses as well. And please check the timetable from the program website for specific time periods when the courses are taught. So that's about it for the first one, GUC. If you have any questions, please make an inquiry directly to the emails listed here. Right, so next one. I'd like to introduce the Amgen Scholars Program here at the University of Tokyo. Amgen, as you may know, Amgen Foundation is fully backed up by Amgen, one of the world's leading biotechnology company based in the US. And Amgen Foundation launched a program which provides hundreds of undergraduate students each year with the opportunities to undertake scientific research projects at many of the world's leading institutions. It was launched in 2006 in the United States, 2008 in Europe, and 2015 in Japan, and at the University of Tokyo and Kyoto University. Amgen Scholars has expanded to additional world-class institutions in the US, Canada, Europe, Australia, and Asia. Right, so, oops, sorry, this one. So what's UTokyo, Amgen Scholars Program? So basically, it's in summary, it's an 8-week laboratory internship opportunity for undergraduate students who are seeking for a career as scientists in the field of bioscience, biotechnology, or drug discovery. You would get hands-on lab experiences in Graduate School of Medicine, Engineering, Science, Agricultural and Life Sciences, Pharmaceutical Sciences, and Institute of Industrial Science. So it also offers financial support, which is very important, to cover your accommodation during the program, as well as travel costs, so you can fully focus on your research. And without mentioning, you would get international experiences and networking opportunities with peer scholars. So the program consists with research opportunities in a UTokyo lab, study visit, and excursions outside of campus, and final presentation. And to wrap up the program, a symposium will be held with other Amgen scholars in Tokyo or Kyoto. Right, so eligibility, who is this for? Here are the requirements. Applicants must be undergraduate students who are enrolled in colleges or universities that award a bachelor's degree or equivalent. At the minimum, you have completed their first year of undergraduate study at the time of the summer program begins, and are not graduating before the summer program begins. And after the summer program ends, after the summer program ends, will resume undergraduate studies for at least one semester or one quarter. And UTokyo Amgen Scholars applicants must also have a strong record of academic performance and have good working knowledge of English demonstrated by TOEFL, IELTS, Cambridge English FCE, or TOEIC. To give you an idea, by TOEFL, IBT score of 72 or IELTS overall band score of 5.5 is the minimum requirement in the English proficiency. Also, you have to have an interest in pursuing a PhD. Right, so the key dates and timeframes, application period. This is an example from this year or this year. So application period ran from November last year to February this year, and applicants notified of decision. The result was available in late March. So, and the participants, those who were selected must arrive in Tokyo by June 5th. And UTokyo Amgen Scholars Program started on June 6th, and it ends on the August 5th. So this year, actually, right now, we're hosting 39 Amgen scholars from around the world. They're selected from over 800 applicants from universities around the world, gathered here at the University of Tokyo. And it's a nice picture, I like it. Yesterday, they have just gone to catch a kabuki play, a classical form of Japanese theater, mixing dramatic performance with traditional dance. And we also plan to visit a seminar house by Lake Yamanaka, which is by the Mount Fuji, for 2 nights and have the midterm presentation. So it's a study visit combined with the presentation. So, and at the end of the month, we have a final presentation. Then we're moving on to Singapore for Asia Symposium. But from next year moving forward, the symposium is expected to be held, as I said earlier, either in Tokyo or Kyoto. Right, so finally, I'd like to introduce one of the initiatives we're currently focusing on. We are actively engaged in fostering a new kind of international exchanges in Japan. Our particular emphasis is strengthening ties. Our particular emphasis is strengthening ties with regions in the global south. We want to provide more opportunities for our students to go to such destinations while also welcoming students from these places. In particular, we hope to offer students affected by challenging economic and political conditions a chance to study with us. That is, enabling them to make a breakthrough for a better career. For example, we're currently starting a program with the Asian University for Women, shortened for AUW, in Chittagong, Bangladesh. AUW attracts talented female students from around the world, many of whom are first generation or come from zones of political and military conflicts. Through online and in-person programs, the AUW and UTokyo students have been learning together and establishing personal relationships. Through this kind of international exchanges, our goal is to provide our students and those at other institutions with opportunities for gaining a truly global outlook that enables them to contribute to the well-being of all in this world. Right, that's it from the Globe. Here are some other summer programs offered by our graduate schools. So science, in the field of science, UTrip, they have this summer research program targeted at undergraduate students, and UTSIP, University of Tokyo Summer Internship Program in Kashiwa. It's a 6-week research internship program for undergraduate students. And also ESEP is a research program in the field of engineering, and it's an opportunity for undergraduate and graduate students to participate in scientific research projects, laboratories of the UTokyo. And to be specifically for students from India, we have partner universities as well, and this is the schedule from this year. It's a 9-week intensive program. Right, so I think I'm about the right time. That's it from myself, and yeah. So if you have any questions, we will be posting the links of the relevant pages that I have just explained. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot an email. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you here at the University of Tokyo. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Ms. Midori, for a wonderful presentation. And these points have not yet been covered till now in the webinar series, and I'm glad that students got to know about them. Thank you for covering them. And let's look into the Q&A portal. Most of the questions have already been answered. So other than AmGen scholarship program, are there any other scholarships for the students to come here on short-term programs?
Right. So other short-term programs. So as I mentioned in the GUC, it's one of them. You know, you get to take global unit courses, and then you get credits. And then, I mean, of course, you have to double check with your host university whether the transfer is possible or not. You know, this is very important since we understand. And also AmGen, as I said, and also the 3 summer programs that I mentioned in the last one.
Yes. So are scholarships provided for all of these programs, or it is mostly student funded?
Oh no! So just to be clear, GUC is there's no scholarship available, unfortunately. So you would be paying out of your pocket, and AmGen is fully covered, and yeah.
Okay, thank you. And if a student takes either GUC or if they come through AmGen or other short-term programs, so the accommodation and everything will be taken care by the university.
Right. For the GUC, we do not have the accommodation available, so you would have to look for an accommodation by yourself. But there are tons of hotels and then you know, affordable places to stay around the campus as well. So yeah, you have to look for your or your own accommodation. But for the Amgen scholars, it's you know, as I mentioned earlier, it's covered in the program as a stipend, so you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, thank you. So one last question. Do you have any suggestions or tips for the students to get accepted into the Amgen Scholars Program?
Oh, sorry, come again, please.
Do you have any tips or suggestions for the students to get selected into the Amgen's program?
You just study hard. Yeah, as I said, you know, it's very competitive, especially the Amgen. It's you know, we receive hundreds of applications every year. It's a very, very popular program. You know, you get to, you know, they would pay for your flights, and then you get to stay around the campus. You know, it's also covered, and yeah, it's a wonderful program. It's very attractive. So yes.
Yes.